I've never tested an agbo before. You've tested an agbo before. So I don't even know what to expect when it's tested. So when I'm writing, I will write it in a very fine way. Maybe think it's like fancy cup and a door. But it's different. It has alcohol in it. I'm not necessarily an ajibot, I'm just a northern, ajibakari.
Sure.
Hi people, I'm Chris Odeh and welcome to our podcast. Podcast that is inspired by my recent book called Before You Say Action. And today we'll be touching the second chapter in the book called Manuscript. And I have three wonderful people here with me. Alumni from Masterclass with Chris Odeh. On my left, I have the prolific director who has directed more than 5 films, also a creative assistant of Ramsey Noah, our Oga Patapata, and his name is no other than Sam Oderinde. Also on my right is the award-winning photographer, head of production Sozo Films, and a black belter, in case you want to find trouble. Haye Oko. Then on my far right is the beautiful, amazing director, producer, writer of Ben from Downstairs, a movie that hit the cinemas last year, and she has other films inside of her that we can't wait to see. Please appreciate Anita Amuna.
Oh, shit.
Did I get Amuna? Amuna.
Auna.
Anita Avuna. Put your together for her also.
Yeah.
So yes, story is king. Everything else is slave to story. Is that too much to say about our kind of project, kind of work, kind of business that we do? A story is king. What do you think, Aye?
I think without a story, there's no life. So you can't keep beating about a bush if you don't have a central point.
Well, people tell me that film is about numbers, it's about popularity, it's about sales. What do you think, Sam? Do you think we should look at that again from that lens of commerciality? Look at it from the size of commercial viability.
So I'd say before we become businessmen, so to say, and before we become filmmakers, we are first storytellers. So I agree to the school of thought, story is king, because we are first storytellers before we are filmmakers.
So is it possible to really have a bad story? Or what do you think makes a story bad?
I only think you can have a bad story if you don't have a clear beginning, clear ending. The conflict is, the stakes aren't high, things like that. But every story can be interesting. It doesn't matter where the story is from, what it's about,
True. Although I've also seen good stories told in a bad way. And bad stories told in a good way. I'm sorry to say, but I think Hollywood is made up of bad stories told in a good way. Because you look at it, you've seen this like 700 times, 10,000 times, and you just still enjoy because of the way they give you the arc and all of that. But you can tell I've seen this thing in 1999, 2009, 2019, and they're still telling it again now. But we get pulled into it. So I've seen stories that are not really exciting, but they are told well. So do you think it's about the story or about the storyteller?
As a film, it's about the storyteller because, the fact that you had to ask that question, story king? I think story is king, but the audience and even the producer, they care about how entertaining it is, and which is the storytelling. Like if you're able to tell it in the most interesting way, people appreciate it, even though they might not give the credit to the story,
True. Although I still think the ammunition you need to tell the story, to make it look interesting is the story first, but the storyteller has the capacity or the power to move around. Well, have you looked through the book? What part excites you, Sam?
Drafts. Yeah, because as a writer myself, I've written scripts for producers who, not like the script is bad from my end, but I feel like, okay, this is the vision that we're trying to sell to the audience. Have it, take a look. And the next thing I'm seeing on Instagram, seeing BTS pictures, they've started shooting. And I'm serious about it. And I'd be like, and my heart skips a bit like, these people have started shooting this.
Yeah.
You understand? So, for me, I have written a good script, a beautiful one if you ask me. But then I still feel like from the producer's perspective, from the director's perspective, don't they have ideas that they want to incorporate into this, or they feel they can do all of these things on set? I don't know how it works, but I know that first drafts are usually not enough. Maybe the third is not even enough. But first drafts, I don't think anybody should go ahead and shoot it. So the draft, how you enunciate that in the book, I think I like it.
So what I did here, and again, this book is not a textbook. It's a book that was written from my experience of making films in Nigeria for the past 15, 16 years. And I created 7 drafts for every script from here. And we have the first draft, which we call the nonsense draft. Maybe I should just run through it quickly. Nonsense draft is a draft. I believe that every creative has that nonsense inside of their brains. Write it out. Express it. So you want to have a helicopter filled up with police and they jump out of the helicopter, they now come out of the parachute and take over the people on the land. Just write it out. Then now when you write it out, you know you've gotten the nonsense out. It's like a tank that has not worked for years and you try to work with the tank. It becomes muddy, murky, dirty. So you need to get the dirty water out. Then you now have the fresh water. You know, those pipes need to clean up with the flow. So that's the nonsense draft. Then you write the second. But nonsense doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. Nonsense means you cannot make that film. That's why Sam was saying he wrote a story, he expects them to give him feedback because he's written what he thinks works. They need to now give him their feedback. Then in between the banters and the back and forth, you get a better content. And the second one is the writer's draft, which is after you've done the nonsense draft, you now go to the draft that satisfies you as a writer. Then you can now say to your producer or your director, I have something for you to see. Then the director now looks at it and now sees the creative visibility, puts in his own, what do I call it now, creative innuendos and all of those things that you need to get the story to work. For example, if you tell me you're going to make a film in Nigeria, there are lines you see in the story that do not necessarily look like Nigerian lines. Like, this guy wouldn't talk like this. This guy cannot be an angry bird and talk like this. That's the director coming in. And even if he looks at it and says, this film, is it dark or is it horror or is it comedy? Why is he jumping all around? So he helps the writer to reduce all of those, like trim the rough edges, prune the story. Then you now go to the producer. Like I remember a story I saw once, one of my producer sent me a script and said, we wanted a 10 million naira low budget film. And the first scene in the film was a truckload of police officers. And I said, a truckload, 3 police trucks already is about 30,000 naira each. And each police officer on that truck is 10,000. So a truckload is about maybe 400,000. For a 10 million naira film, the first page, we've already spent 400,000 naira. We've not even said a word. That's not, it's not feasible. I told her, get off my office. So not because she wrote nonsense, but because she didn't get the brief. So a lot of films get spoiled because we write big budget films with low budget. So in the process of trying to squeeze a film about a big church like Shiloh in a story where you don't have budget for extras, you're going to mess up the film. So, you know, you need to look at all of those things, visibility, which is beyond even budget, all the resources, energy, social capital, money, time, all the valuable resources we have. And then you go to the 5th draft, which is now you now try to bring in the sponsors, bring in any other element that is necessary. After you've done your recce, I remember when we were doing Neka, there's a place where you're supposed to jump out through the window and fall into a pool. The house we got, the window wasn't close to the pool. So we had to now rewrite the story that she jumps off the window, the man peeps off the window and sees, and we see her POV of her seeing the man. So we didn't have to shoot from window to the pool. We had to rewrite it to suit the location. Then you now take the script and go shoot. Then when you finish shooting, you need to still do a post-production draft, which is the 7th draft, which is you've shot the film, you've had all your hurdles, actor shows up late, actor gets a black eye when they were fighting in the last scene and now it's affecting the next scene. Those things that you did, so the script you submit to your streamers, your distributors, your festivals, that is like post-production, not editing. After you have produced the film, the draft you have, which is the final draft that we always call it. So the 7th, this is not by any textbook, this is by Chris's experience. You might have your own, so you can always hit the comment section and tell us what you think about my 7 drafts. That was...
Well done.
So as a producer during the scripting process, how do you strike a balance between guiding and allowing creative freedom?
You know, so thank you for asking that question. Even though I think I need to work on a book called Creative Leadership. I think producers need to know that leading creatives is giving them creative options and not really streamlining and creating borderlines around, because creativity ends when there's a controlled borderline around it. When I tell you stay in this space, you stop thinking. If I give you freedom. So I advise producers to have like a creative deck. In the creative deck, you have an idea of the kind of story you want to tell. You have an idea of your target audience. You have an idea of film. There is nothing new under the sun. Every story you want to tell, I can tell you 5 other stories that went in that direction. We're not saying you are repeating the story, but we're saying you want to go on that path. Example, living in bondage. If you're living in bondage, you can see a devil's advocate in it. You can see Eyes Wide Shut in it. So you can see those kinds of similar nuances and know that, okay, so it's a cult, an angry lord or an angry, what do you call him, the devil or demonic person and all of that, which we saw in Richard Williams. So those things were things that Steve Gukas, my mentor, had said to the writer, Nicole, and the director, Ramsey Noah, that they needed to put in their minds while they were developing that story. And if you watch that film and you're a student of filmmaking in the world, you know that you see those similarities. Off the top of your head, I Want Out was a scene of Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves in Devil's Advocate in his office. The initiation, Eyes Wide Shut, Tom Cruise and the Cult people, and what's her name, the white lady from South Africa. All I'm saying is you can see those similarities. We're not saying you must write it this way, but these are the options. So you have your story, your idea, you have your target audience, you have your genre, not to limit them, but to help them guide the process through. Sometimes even give them like your cast wish list, so they can have an idea of the kind of characters to create. So they know the skin tone, they know the speech tone, they know all of those things while they're creating those characters. And also do workshops. People undermine the place of workshops. Workshops is a room where everybody can speak freely. No idea is a waste. Banter, throw ideas around, then now fine-tune it into some streamlined structure which the writer can now take to go and work. Except you're buying the script off someone. That's a different case. But if you want to build a story with a writer, you need to learn how to creatively lead creatives, which is give them creative options against telling them what to do. So be a step ahead and give them multiple 5, 10, 20 options. That's what I advise people.
I have a question
Hope I can answer this one.
on ownership, and it's because I'm being asked a lot of questions right now in a production I'm working on. What's my credit? So for ownership of the story and creativity as a producer, how do you recognize who does what and then attribute the necessary credits to team members?
So ownership, first, let's talk about ownership as regards work and talk about ownership as regards story.
Okay.
So what people fail to realize is in show business, in film, there's a business part and there's a creative part. In the business part, the blood of the business part of film business is money. But the blood of the creative part is credit. So people need to understand that if you're in film business, as much as you're paying me 10 million naira to produce your film, I also need to have my name produced by Chris Odeh on that film. Because that's the guarantee that the credit of that film comes to me and it assures me future projects. So it's like the C of O. So the land is mine, I'm living on the land, but someone can come tomorrow and argue and take me off the land. So what gives me that guarantee is that when you play the film on, my name pops up. You know, I remember the day I decided I was going to be a producer and not a line producer anymore. I'd done a film, and I brought my family to the cinema to watch the film. I was line producer on the film. I don't mention what film that is. And they had to wait till the end of the film, and like the 5th or the 6th card for my name showed up. And I could see the disappointment in their eyes. Like, Chris, you talked about this film as if you literally did everything. I literally did everything in the film. But I couldn't take the credit of the producer. I couldn't take the credit of the director. I had to be a line producer, meaning my name will appear close to the first AD and the second AD according to Hollywood standards. And I said, no. If I want this honor to myself, I need to get that credit. At that point, the money they paid me didn't matter anymore that day. What mattered was the credit I got. So you need to understand that everybody in film wants to get their credit. The driver that drove you to go print that script, you get driver credit. The guy who made the merch for you to give to your actors needs to get that credit. Because that's the guarantee for future money. The present money solves your present situation, but future money solves the future money, the future remuneration. Having said that, story, we need to understand that story idea belongs to the person who conceptualized the entire process. Now, the fact that you screenplayed my film does not give you story credit. There's story credit, and there's screenplay credit, and there's script edit credit, story contribution credit, story edit credit. These things differ.
Even dialogue edits.
So all of those things are different. So you need to know who gets what. But when you have your story idea, you create a synopsis. You go to the copyright commission, you register it on your name. So it's written, Haye Oko is the story creator of Haye and Sons. That's the film. So you need people who know that's your film. Then you get Anita to screenplay it. You get Sam to edit it. And in the end of the film, like I said before, you give them their due credit after paying them their money. Now, people do not understand the benefit of front card and back cards. If I want to give you a front card, meaning before the film starts, opening montage, I give you a credit there. I might use that to negotiate you less, give you less money, because that is important. Before the film starts, they see your credit. That's important. So if you come into negotiation in the future chapters, you understand that these things I just said now also play into your negotiation. But one thing I think a true creative shouldn't do, never take another person's credit. It's literally like stealing money.
Yeah.
Because like I said, money is the blood of the business part of showbiz. Credit is the blood of the show part of showbiz. Sam, maybe you should say something before we wrap up.
Yeah, so talking about storytelling and the role of a producer in the process of storytelling. So before I attended the masterclass with Chris Odeh,
Oh, you did?
I was, yeah, I did, proudly. So I was this young director who always think I had this brilliant idea, like I want to make a film like this, you know. I never considered the marketability and the audience acceptance of such film. So during the masterclass, I got to realize that every film is not for everybody. There are films that are for certain people. Every film is made for a certain set of people, and so is the script writing. Not every writer can write a script. I read in the manuscript that not every scripter can write it, and I will also say that not every director can make a particular film. Exactly. So my question is that, don't you think that when we say that it's not every writer who can write a particular kind of script, and it's not every director who can make a particular kind of film, would that not be us stereotyping people?
So so the thing is, like I said again, it's show business. So we're always talking from the point of the creativity, but you have to look at the business. So business and management are very key things. I know you can do something, but I cannot prove to my board that you can do it. I don't give you the job. That does not mean I don't believe you can do it, but I don't have enough capacity to take that risk. So what we're saying is that we're not saying Sam can only write horror. No. I'll give an example, Uche. So Uche has been trying to let me know that she can do beyond dark stories. Now, I know she can do beyond dark stories. She has a great sense of humor. However, if I go to my investors and I say, Uche is writing the script, they're going to say, what has she written? I'll say, choke. Yes, award nominee, blah, 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 blah. But we're about to do a comedy here, or Sophia in Dubai. Why is Uche writing or Sophia in Miami? Last time we saw her going out to watch Choke, she used to get the awards. So I might believe her, but and I'm talking about big films, not film in your bedroom, $5 million. I'm talking about films that you are investing $10 million, $5 million, $1 million. So you need a lot of people involved. You need to involve them and let them see. So where the issue is can you convince your board, the funders, that this risk, because if you take a risk with Uche, for example, she writes Osofia in Tokyo, and the film tanks, they won't hold Uche responsible. They will hold me responsible. So while you're trying to be creative, you have to understand that it's also business. And in business, like I said, money is the blood. So if you sap the blood from the money, from the business, the thing goes down. You're not able to make more films in the future. So there's that place of balancing. That's one. And two is, I think people fail to realize that producers are creative people. That's why this word creative producing has become a thing for me recently. You need to understand that it takes creativity to know the right person to write the project. So we run a company called Story Global now. And in Story Global, one of our major headaches is to decide who writes what. So we just hired you recently to write the project. And when we hired you, we said we need someone who understands the grit in the lifestyle of Lagos. And among all the people we had in our option, you were the closest there that have lived. I've never tested an agbo before. You've tested an agbo before. So I don't even know what to expect when it's tested. So when I'm writing, I will write it in a very fine way. Maybe think it's like fancy cup and a door. But it's different. It has alcohol in it. I'm not necessarily an ajibot. I'm just a northern, ajibaker.
Yeah. Sure.
But what I'm saying is, you understand the details that are there. And you watch a lot of films. When you watch Living in Bondage, what excites you is we didn't struggle with the Igbo-centric part of that film.
It was there.
It was authentically Igbo.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Tabafo there, the camera, bang the door." That's the typical Igbo guy. And the guy wasn't even living what we told him. He was an Igbo guy in every ramification of an Igbo guy. Same thing with Muna, same thing with Jide Kenneth. Ramsey was a Yoruba guy who was telling the story, but he's lived most of his life in Enugu, doing Enugu films. So he understands, he speaks Igbo. He understands the nuance, he understands the lifestyle, he understands the language. So yes, so he understands that. Then I and Charles are proper Igbo boys. We live for the Igbo life. At that time, we used to wear red cap all the time back then, because that's how Igbo-centric we were. So if you watch the film, it jumps at you that this is an Igbo film.
First time I saw the film.
Yes.
I had to see it a second time to be able to relate to it because it was so egotic.
Exactly. So everything was planned. So that was a creative approach to the film. That same story, different writer, different director could have tanked.
So how would you advise someone who, just with the example of Uche, who knows that she can write beyond dark films?
Exactly.
So every creative needs to And that's why you should buy this book, by the way. So click on that link that's going down now. But every creative needs to understand that you daily need to pitch yourself.
Okay.
Every day for a creative is a day for a pitch. So shoot a short film. Write a TV film. Write the script and sell it.
So just put the content out.
Put it out. When we see it, it's in the scene. I can now say to them, she's bloody good. Look at her script. She's bloody good. See what she did. But it's different for me saying, I believe in the future. You know, we can go on and on and on and on and on. But we need to get out of here. But guys, thank you so much for having this beautiful time with me. Indie filmmaker, if you have plenty of money from your forefathers, you're not supposed to buy this book. People that need, because I've borrowed money to shoot a film. I've sold the car to shoot a film. I have collected money from my mom. I've collected my wife's money. I've done everything, saved money to shoot a film. And I've shot the film for #1 million and a film for $1 million. So if there's anybody that deserves to write this book, I think it's me.
Woo!
Grab this book, guys.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Good one.
Thank you very much.
So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
So insightful.
That was